Good morning and welcome to Pistols Progress. I believe this is episode 33. I'm Heather Smith. I'm the creator of BarrelRacingTips.com, and lately I've been bringing you behind the scenes as I get my barrel horse pistol here back in shape for competition. So we just finished an awesome ride, and so I've been coming to you live here on Facebook every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 8:30 Central. And so today I'm actually preparing for a barrel race tomorrow. And now his first competition run back won't actually be until September 1st. But I'm hauling him to a few races. Like, it's been really like 3 total. We had one last week, and I've got one each of the next 2 weekends. And so he's had a long break since late last summer, fall. And so I'm really just kind of easing him back into that more intense competition environment, doing some exhibitions, just spot checking him, making sure that he's where he needs to be mentally and emotionally, which I completely expect him to be, but you know, that hasn't been really an area of struggle with him in the past. But it's like, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part to absolutely give him all the tools, all the confidence, all the preparation he needs to absolutely perform his best. And so I've also been really reconstructing his biomechanics and his movement patterns around the actual barrel pattern. And so this is an opportunity to go and kind of test those out and sort of gradually turn up the speed while making sure that all these new habits he's learning in his slow work are holding together as we turn up the volume. So but we just had an amazing ride, and some of the things I wanted to offer you today was a little bit about how my program shifts a little bit in those days preceding up to an actual competition run. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the perspective I've gained as far as like what it really takes to put together a high-level horse and maintain a high-level horse, and how a lot of us are almost sort of stuck in a rut of like wishful thinking when it comes to this, and are not really offering our horses and our program what it takes to be at the high levels. And sometimes it might seem like we don't necessarily have the resources, the time, the finances that it takes to do that. But what that really means is we just have to like shift our priorities and our schedule, and it might mean that we might have to get some other area of our life like solidified as far as that foundation, so that it can support that high level barrel racing. So hi Cindy, hi Jill, awesome to have you girls with me. So first though, before I go into that, I'll say that this morning I kept his workout a little bit lighter. So you know, he is really like a miracle horse. In 2012 he had an injury that we eventually found out was damage to some collateral ligaments, and he was really touch and go soundness wise for like 5 years. Like, I rode him some, we accomplished some personal goals, but he really wasn't holding together soundness wise. You'll have to forgive me, there's some construction going on here in the background. He has been an absolute rock star. They're cutting tin, so there were times when I was just like we were just like a few feet away from it, and it's so insanely loud, and he was just so solid. I'm so proud of him. So anyway, he's like a miracle horse. To be able to just be back competing with him is amazing. And the truth of it is that it's not that he necessarily had some sort of instantaneous, miraculous healing where like poof, he's just sound and like new. The reality of it is that I just learned how to take care of him and support him better. And the habits that I have been forced into learning with him are basically the same kind of habits if I would have had in place when he was younger. I might not be in this position. And so basically the kind of high level care that he requires to hold together and go compete like on the weekends, on a weekend basis, is really a very similar level of care that like a high level rodeo horse would require, that is maybe in a little bit healthier, sounder place physically, but is going to have even much greater demands. So the way I see it, since that is really my goals, the way I see it is that like this is just really excellent practice for that. Like, if I can keep him together after the things he's overcome, then I'm confident that I can keep together horses in the future and make sure that they maintain at a high level. Hi Carolyn, oh sorry to hear that. So Anyway, today what I did, because tomorrow I'm gonna be hauling him, and that is stress to their, bodies in the trailer. And so he always wears his padded hoof boots. The trailer has foam and then rubber matting, but it's still like kind of hard on their bodies, so I'm keeping that in mind. The other thing is just like the intensity. Like I'm gonna really treat tomorrow really like a competition day, so I'm not really gonna give him a full workout, a tough workout like I did at the last barrel race. When I get there, it's just gonna be, I'm really gonna sort of simulate actually the kind of warm-up I would do for a barrel race and make it kind of like a dry run or a rehearsal, so that when we're ready to put our money up September 1st, that we'll be totally prepared. And so basically I kept his workout today a little bit lighter than normal. It just wasn't quite as intense. And the other thing I did, I've been kind of breaking down elements of the pattern and doing a lot of individual circles around the barrel, but not actually putting it in to a fluid, full, actual, lope through. And that is what I did today, because that is part of my plan for the exhibitions tomorrow. So one thing I made a point of doing, instead of just throwing one hand down and turning him loose on one rein, I really used two reins to keep just a little bit of feel. I'm learning more all the time about, what he appreciates most. I mean, we've been together for many years, but if you really listen to your horse, I swear you will learn something new about them and their preferences every day. And things constantly change, so we have to be open to that. But he really works best with a super, super light feel with his nose just barely tipped to the inside. And I really focused today on riding with two hands and then just really engaging my seat and really pushing him with my seat, giving him a little more room around the barrels because we're going slow. I really like the idea of keeping the footfall around the pattern exactly the same, but I'm kind of coming to the conclusion with him, I think mainly due to his size, because he's feeling phenomenal soundness wise, but things just feel so kind of clunky and awkward. And I think when we're doing this slow work, that I think he is just so massive. And so I've been giving myself at least maybe an extra foot of space around the barrels to sort of set him up for success and just give him a little bit more space for that clearance to get his enormous body around. So he's not just tall and wide, but he is extremely, extremely long. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind. And it seems to be helping him. Things are a lot more fluid and a lot easier. And so the easier it feels, the more we can kind of tighten things up if we feel like we need to. And so what I did was I've been keeping my shoulders back and my eyes up, and keeping my hands kind of elevated, and then really using my seat to push him and hustle him through the pattern, especially kind of on the back side, where we tend to kind of drop our energy as we come into the barrel to ask our horses to rate. But we've got to make sure that a lot of us need to instantly turn that energy back up, or their momentum is going to be kind of like flat or dead as they come around the rest of the barrel. So a lot of it is just like phenomenal timing on our part, and we need to train ourselves in those habits. So for the last few weeks, I've also been training myself big time on my habit of stepping really hard to the outside of the turns. And so I catch myself often. I've actually been stepping to counteract that, stepping in the inside harder, being more aware of that. And then I'm also not rushing the turn, which has been my tendency. And really, if you want a recipe for getting your horse disengaged, rush the turn. That has been one of my bad habits. And so what I'm doing, like I mentioned the last time, was that if we feel the desire to rush things, we should use our seat and hustle their behind and push them and drive them from behind, rather than getting ahead of ourselves and looking prematurely or using too much hand. And really, if our horse isn't cranking around and closing those turns on their own and taking responsibility for that, then we need to go back and fix that. We should not have to be really engaging a lot of firm feel in order to make the turn happen. So we should be able to have a really light feel on the reins to be able to sort of not pull them through or force the turn to finish or happen, but just kind of put some enthusiasm from behind and kind of light them up and help them elevate and engage. and then just have that really subtle guidance on their front end. And Ruby, he is 15.3. But I feel like the more, the better, the more I become aware and the better his feeding program becomes. It seems like, you know, he's 15, but I swear it's like he gets bigger all the time. And I think like with the right kind of conditioning and development, our horse's posture does legitimately change. So the last time I sticked him, he was 15.3, but you know, and then when they get wider and more filled out in their top line, they definitely seem bigger. But posture is a huge thing too. A horse can stand higher at the hip, and then if we change their conditioning program, we can actually change their posture, because there's so many soft tissues that hold their frame together. And when those change and we build strength and different movement patterns and habits, like it will change how they appear, and it will definitely change how they're able to use themselves. So anyway, the other thing I was going to mention is that things really have started coming together, and he is feeling like really good. And I think one of the obstacles, and I posted that image yesterday about how I started running barrels, and how I basically had like started from nothing and had very little support or guidance or direction or finances to be able to do any of this. And I've just worked really hard and had just a lot of passion and enthusiasm for constantly growing and taking things to the next level. So for those of you who can identify with that and starting from nothing, the thing we have to remember is that even if we started at the very bottom, that we do not have to stay there. Like, that is optional. And a lot of times, like when I think about, there's been a lot of times when I have sidelined my goals with him so that I can build the financial means in order to support competing at the level that I want to compete at. And that might mean major upgrades to certain specific tools that are going to support you at that higher level. And a lot of us are I know I have been out of touch in the past with what it really takes to support a high level horse. And a lot of us hesitate. We kind of have an idea of some of those things we should probably do. And I mean, this goes, a lot of people don't necessarily talk about it, but so much in the back of our minds is that we don't necessarily take those steps because we're strapped financially. And so I just want to offer that to you. Like, when you sort of get that you have this calling and you have this passion and you start putting together like, gosh, I feel like I need this, like I legitimately need it, and I feel like strapped to make it happen, then sometimes you just have to, it doesn't mean that it's not possible, but we are going to have to let go and release some like serious money blocks, and we're going to need to sort of reinvent ourselves and let go of maybe this sort of identity and beliefs and limitations that we grew up with, and really constantly strive to get to the higher level. And that's going to mean getting creative with the things that we do maybe outside of barrel racing to support us, making sure that they're as lucrative as possible, that they're flexible with our schedules and so forth, so that it can really all come together. So I just wanted to offer that because I was looking at some really old videos of Pistol, because a few weeks ago I was kind of feeling concerned about how he was moving. I'm like, is it really just his habit, or is it like a soundness issue? So I went and looked back at like a video of him at a clinic like many years ago when he was maybe like 5 or something. And I looked at that video of him moving and I thought, he is moving the exact same way. But then I saw him go around a barrel and he kind of hung up, like he kind of hesitated with his inside hind leg and he kind of swished his tail. And I'm like, you know what? He was sore. Like, I could see that. And I'm like, I either didn't know it or I didn't take the action steps I should have. Or I remember one time many years ago, he's always been great at the gate. There was one time he started to hesitate a little bit, and I'm like, well, I basically created an alley problem with my little mare as a kid, and I have been really committed to never going down that road again. So hopefully the wind noise isn't too bad. So he was kind of bad at, or he hesitated. It was really minor, and I thought, well, I'm going to take action, and I thought I was doing all the right things. So I gave him one equine shot. And I'm like, well, that ought to fix it, you know, because I thought he's probably sore or something, you know what I mean? And I think to myself, you know, if I was in that position again, I would immediately take action. But what a horse might need, to be totally honest, if your horse does not normally have any trouble at the gate, and they take, like, something changes and they just hesitate for a moment, you might need to give that horse 3 months off. You might need to have professional body work done on that horse twice a month for like a period of 6 months. You might need to go to the vet for a really in-depth lameness exam. You might need to seriously upscale the type of therapies and support you're doing at home. You might need to totally reconsider your program and your conditioning. You may need to do half as much speed work and more positive, balanced, good, healthy biomechanics so that horse doesn't tend to get sore. I mean, so many of us are like overlooking the small symptoms, and then we're not taking big enough, effective enough steps that a high-level horse really needs to hold together. And so, and again, the time commitment and the financial commitment that a high-level horse needs is honestly, it's huge. And I don't want you to think of that as a limitation. I want you to use it as inspiration for how do I have to change things in my life, even if that means sidetracking my barrel racing goals temporarily. What do I have to do to build the foundation so that I am able to have the financial freedom and the time to give my horse and myself everything that we need to really devote ourselves to this and go to the absolute highest levels. And so that's what I'll leave you with for today. I need to keep him moving. I'm just going to catch up on comments really quick. Yeah, absolutely, Linda. Yay, Melody. Let's see. Awesome. Love to hear that. That sounds like a lot of fun, Melody. Like, if I could actually ask Pistol what he would like to do more of, it would just be fun, relaxed stuff, to be honest. I don't feel like I'm fitting a square peg into a round hole by any means, but he is enthusiastic about this because I am. And, you know, he's gifted as an athlete and so forth. And I make sure that I offer him everything that he needs in order to like his job. But I definitely, it's really important to mix things up and meet our horse's needs in every way that we can, and be open to really in touch with understanding what they are. And if we just get really quiet and still and kind of tap in and just listen, they will tell us everything we need to know. And so there's a train going by now. So hopefully with the wind and the construction workers in the background and the train, hopefully the audio has been okay. But we've got a big day tomorrow. I'm excited. Stay tuned to my stories. I can't wait to fill you in on how that goes. And so with that, I would love those of you tuning in to comment really quick about what your goals are for the weekend with your horse, and then we'll check in with each other as accountability partners on Monday. So I really look forward to that. And as always, my intention is for you to really take this information and not just listen to it, but to take it to heart and really apply it and go and create a super higher level of success than you've ever experienced with your barrel horse. So I hope this has been helpful. It's always fun touching base with you. And I'll be posting some fun updates to my stories, so keep an eye on those. Awesome. Love to hear it, Ruby. Hi, Karen. All right, guys. I'll see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in.